Thank you very much, everyone. All right, well, I'd say let's begin, right? Wonderful. Hello, hello. My name is Claudie Bell. I am a mindfulness and well-being coach, as well as community and sustainability architect. Thank you all for joining us. It's a great pleasure, and I'm excited to celebrate World Health Day with you. It was yesterday, actually. So today we will explore mental and physical health and learn more about their interconnectedness and how we can keep ourselves healthy and well-balanced. This event is organized by ASHAexperience, an Ayurvedic and holistic wellness platform, which includes corporate offerings, travel experience, as well as wellness treatments. I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Shuvra, who is Wellness Director, as well as the ASHA founders, Bijoya Mohanty and Hubert Patry. Bijoya, Hubert, would you like to perhaps come and say hello and share a few words on ASHA?
Absolutely. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know whoever are joining from whichever part of the world. So all of you, welcome to ASHAexperience platform and this wonderful Mind Your Mind event on World Health Day. And I thank you, Claudie, for bringing all of us to this wonderful platform. And we are quite excited to hear. This is a very important topic, and to hear from everyone and to know their point of view and to guide us how to really take care of our mental health. And Claudie has already told what ASHAexperience is all about. We are an Ayurvedic wellness platform. We are offering healing, Ayurvedic sustainable healing at people's doorstep. And besides that, we also organize Ayurvedic treatment and wellness journey back in India, where Ayurveda has been generated or was born. So once again, we welcome all of you to this wonderful event, to this wonderful evening. And yeah, let's begin.
Thank you, Bijoya. Thank you so much. Now, before we begin, with the questions and answers, I'd like to introduce our guests, our esteemed guests. We have Elizabeth Ballin, who is an ICF certified professional coach here in Switzerland and also freelancing at Modern Health, which is a mental health care organization based in the US. She's specialized in personal and career growth, healthy lifestyle, substance abuse, among others. We also have Dr. Neela Sheth, who is an Ayurvedic doctor and founder at Ayurvedic Help, a traditional Ayurveda clinic. She has been working for the last 15 years as an independent Ayurveda doctor. She specializes in digestive health, women's health, as well as the promotion of health with Ayurvedic principles. Hello, Dr. Neela. Hello, Elizabeth. We also have Laure Carter. Laure is a clinical Ayurvedic specialist, vegan food chef, and yoga and meditation teacher. We have someone? Yeah, no one, exactly. So Laure dedicates herself to helping women over 40 lose weight through the support of Ayurvedic lifestyle. Welcome, Laure. And last but not least, we have Laura Muriel. Laura is a trauma-informed yoga therapist, wellness educator, and writer. She blends her experience in social advocacy, conscious coaching, and mental health into a powerful, mindful approach to personal empowerment in people who face health challenges. Again, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure having you with us. So if anyone in the audience has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them after the panel. Now let's begin. I actually have my first question for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, hello. Lovely to have you. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. This is the first time for me, and I'm really, really excited to share some of my experience in the mental health field. As far as the question?
Yeah. So, well, exactly. I was going to go there right away. So there is a connection between mental health and physical health. Can you shed some light on it, for everyone to just arrive and get an overview of how it looks like?
Sure. The mind and body communicate all the time, doesn't it? Through the five senses. So it obviously they're linked. They can't be separated. So if we just take a look at, let's go right into stress, anxiety, depression, and that's coming out of inequality, poverty, stress at work, stress at home. You see different ways of the way people react to it. So you might get a group of people who react to it by unintentionally drinking too much or eating too much, causing obesity, drug abuse, smoking, insomnia, sleeping too much, inertia, no exercise, being like a couch potato. So this is showing up in their body, right? So this is how they're reacting to the stress. On the other side of it, some people have the same stress systems, they are, fearful, sad, feeling the stress of work and the conflict in the world, but they may react completely differently. What happens is that they start to actually focus on self-care. So they might go to a doctor regularly to make sure that their body's okay. They'll start maybe yoga lessons, start doing some research into better nutrition. They'll just really focus on making sure that they're in good mental and physical shape to take on the challenges that are being thrown at them on a daily basis. So basically what you see is that you have different reactions from different people, and they're going to show up differently in their bodies. So high blood pressure for those who and high blood pressure, cardiovascular diseases, all those from abusing your body. And other people will have a body that's really fit and ready to take on those challenges, as I said.
Yeah, thank you. And it does sound like, past experiences may have a lasting impact on our current health state as well, and if they do so in a negative manner, so how, are there ways to approach it in a way?
Well, I mean, experience can't be erased, right? So, it's part of us. It makes up of who we are, good experiences and bad experiences. So, just a simple example is if you're going into a bakery and you smell chocolate chip cookies, and it suddenly takes you back to when you're 4 years old, when your mother was making those cookies for you, and what's happening in your body, where your body is responding very positively. The endorphins are pumping, you're smiling, you're excited, you start thinking about your friends, and you're open and curious. Well, on the negative side of it, I mean, this is kind of an extreme example, but imagine some point in your life you were walking down the street and somebody put a gun to your head. What is your mind telling your body then? It's going to tell you to fight, flee, or freeze. And then the body's going to react with with the adrenaline, and it's going to put your muscles are going to tense up, your heart's going to start pounding, you're going to start breathing very shallowly. And these are all designed to help you in that moment, right? It's perfectly designed to help you to survive in that moment. Well, imagine if that memory somehow follows you through life, even without even consciously being aware of it. Maybe you see a pair of red shoes that the person who attacked you was wearing, and you don't even relate those two, but that's showing up in your body. Well, that's really tiring and very stressful on your body. That's going to show up in all sorts of ways. So, so yes, it does come up. And, and when I have my clients come in, not with extreme cases like that, but it could be simply that they're very, overly anxious, catastrophic thinking because of something that's going on at work or at home. And it just keeps showing up and they can't shed it. So it's just there all the time. So the way I work with these clients as a first step before, they maybe go off to do other things is to make them aware, where is that showing up in your body when you're anxious? Is it here? Are you clenching your fists? Are you grinding your teeth? And that awareness is the first step to sort of stay out of the storyline of it. And then you might want to also name the emotion. And so I often will tell my clients, okay, your homework is to go in and track your thoughts and how it's showing up in your body on a good side and a bad side. So when a positive experience happens, you notice how your body is. And so from that, then I work with them to get a better grasp of what they can control and how they can control their thoughts so that their bodies react better. And then when they feel better, then they can start to really explore their goals and their life path so that it's more thriving and healthy, actually.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It makes me think a little bit of actually, yoga therapy, this body awareness as well. And yeah, so Laura, in your experience, how can we find a good balance between mental and physical health in our everyday lives? What do you suggest from a yoga therapy perspective?
Sure. Hi, everyone, first of all. So there is so much to say about this because as Elizabeth was sharing with us, mind and body constantly communicate. They never stop communicating. So my job as a yoga therapist is bringing the person into a state where they can be with the body, because sometimes most of us, we tend to live in the mind so much. So what we need to do is go down a little bit and start to becoming aware of the physical sensations. If, let's say, for example, if there is trauma, trauma is stuck in the body, it lives in the body. So I would say, besides, working with a mental health professional, I would say it's also very important to develop that body awareness that's going to allow the person to build more resiliency in order to, for the person to be able to feel the physical sensation where the trauma is trapped. And not just about trauma, but someone who has anxiety, for example. I have a lot of people telling me, oh, I feel this tightness in the chest. So sometimes, if you're not able to tune into your body and recognize those body sensations, it's very hard for a person to really identify what's going on within them, just because they are so much caught up in their thoughts and in their mind that it's very hard for them to be present with whatever is arising in the body. So to answer your question, you were saying how we can sort of help people navigate through physical health and mental health, right? That was the question.
And maintain a certain balance. Yeah.
Sure. So I would say there is so many techniques, and the beauty about yoga therapy is it's different in the sense that my dog is right to me, so you might see her sometimes. Sorry. So yeah, basically the difference between yoga therapy and regular yoga per se is that we work with the individual, we work with the person. So it's most of the time is made in a one-on-one or small group setting, and we're focusing on a specific either mental health or physical health condition, or physiological, which is, within the same context as well. So one way how we can help someone improve their mental health and their physical health, which in yoga therapy we understand that actually mental health and physical health are the same. We cannot even separate them because it's actually interwoven. So the mind is within the body. We have actually 5 layers in yoga therapy. that are called 5 koshas. So the mind is within the body. So we would say that the body is the first layer, and then we've got the mind, we've got the prana, which is the breathing, we've got the soul and the true personality that is within us. So one way to help us, navigate life and improve both the mental health and the physical health would be, of course, understanding how the mind works. And that's why, if you're working with with a mental health therapist, that's a great way of doing it. And the other side would be, learning how to tune in with your body, and working through the body, we work with the mind as well. So of course, my suggestion would be, working with the body, especially with the breathing, because one super important component in yoga therapy is that we not only, in the physical side of yoga, which is a very tiny part, we're not only moving the body, but we're moving it with the breath. And actually the breath is one way how the body communicates with the mind. So whenever the mind is agitated, the breath is going to be impacted as well. So I would say, start working with the body and see what happens. Start to tune in with your breath. Start to, self-explore and have curiosity for what's going on inside. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you so much. That's so fascinating. I could listen to it for hours. And I really like this approach because what I have learned from yoga and Ayurveda is, it's a very personalized experience, right? And, we look at the body and mind in a holistic way. And I think that's, in the more contemporary, practices, everything is severed, into different aspects, but it's really, it could be very helpful to look at, one system, as a whole, and really work with that. And yeah, it's
absolutely
truly fascinating.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we spoke about yoga therapy. Now I am moving a little bit to Ayurveda. Dr. Neela. Hi, Dr. Neela. So when someone is diagnosed with a chronic physical condition, they usually consult a physician. What about mental health from an Ayurvedic perspective? What happens? What do we do?
So, hello, everybody. As you have already heard Elizabeth and Laura telling you that how the mind or body are reacting to each other. And we have to consider mind and body together when we speak of health. The beauty of Ayurveda is that Ayurveda sees body, Ayurveda sees a human being as a mind, body, and self unit. So whenever a client or a patient approaches, I have and I must inquire about the physical and the mental aspects, what the person is doing every day, so that we can diagnose what is happening with the patient. This is a good question because a lot of times we approach the doctor or we approach the therapist with saying, okay, I have a pain in the hand, I have something, I have a headache, and then we do address it. But a lot of times the mental illnesses or what the mind is suffering, okay? So the suffering of the mind goes unnoticed. Though physical and mental things are inseparable because it's a one unit. And a person who's suffering physically, and if it's a chronic illness, definitely there will be a mental illness going around with this because of the chronicity of the problem. On the other hand, when the person presents to you, sometimes he's saying, oh, I have a constant problem with digestion and I'm eating too much or too less, but also I cannot digest things. I have a back pain. I have a neck pain. And when you try to find the cause of the problem, it lies in stress. Okay. Now, stress is a widely used word, but it is also true that in my practice, I see lots and lots of young and old patients who have the root cause lying in chronic stress. Chronic stress itself is a syndrome. that means your body is chronically, for a long time, suffering with mental health problems, and they go unnoticed. They can be problems like insomnia, it can be pains, it can be aches, it can be something like cloudy thinking or change in the social behavior. Sometimes it can be hopelessness, because we are today facing so many things which are like our lifestyle issues, our work environments, our social and economic problems, and also some things like we have just faced the pandemic. So all of this has a lot of impact on our mind. The beauty of Ayurveda, like I said, is that we are at, when I see the patient, I'm always noticing and asking, how are you feeling? What is your mind saying? And if that doesn't fit in, if it is going up, down, if we see the symptoms there, if a person is not sleeping well, for example, and often this comes around, okay, I'm doing fine, not but do you sleep well? No, many reasons again, okay? So these things are to be taken in account when we see any chronic illness. Now, the other thing is, when Ayurveda treats a patient for either it can be physical or mental illness, it is not one pill or it is not one therapy, but it's a complete program. And in this program, there will be phytotherapy, there will be different kind of detoxification therapies, there will be yoga, and a yoga therapist might also be involved, and there are many other things which we have to take in consideration. For the mind specifically, when we call the treatment in Ayurveda for mind is Sattva Vajaya. Sattva here means mind, and Sattva Vajaya means mind your mind. So that's your topic. So that's a beautiful thing to say. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. And I also like what you said about, asking your patients how they are feeling, because it invites them to listen to their bodies, and actually notice what is happening there. Yeah, very beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, speaking of stress, Elizabeth, I'm coming back to you because, when we talk about mental health, we immediately think of stress and depression. So in your understanding and from your knowledge, does mental health go far beyond these two conditions, or how do you see that? How can you describe the depth of mental health?
Okay, so the answer is, of course, it goes beyond those two definitions. So I think of mental health like being a garden, right? So you've got these weeds coming up that are kind of these issues that might be negative thoughts, negative your anxiety, stress, etc. And if you focused on just trying to resolve those, you're not going to get very far, because your garden over here is not planted at all. So you have to focus on planting your garden. And I love Dr. Martin Seligman's model of Perma Plus, which I'll use as a way of filling up this garden, and it will be, P for positive emotions, love, optimism, kindness, humor, gratitude, and then E is engagement, being very, finding something for somebody to be engaged in where they feel this, that they love doing, like taking walks or reading, and you almost get into this flow state. R is for relationships, making sure that we have really strong, good relationships, and not just relationships with having friends who are there to help you when something goes wrong, but for them to be there when things go right, so they can celebrate with you. It's very important. And then there's M, which is meaning. What does your life mean? What values do you have? So making sure that you're constantly living by your values and making sure that those values that you follow those values, and that at the end of the day, or at the end of your lifetime, your garden will really show what those values are. And then, achievement. Achievement is being able to set yourself goals where you can really achieve. You go to the end of them and really can pat yourself on the back and say, I did it. This really is good, positive feedback. And so the plus stands for nutrition, sleep, and nutrition, sleep, and come on, help me here. There's a third one. Let's see, nutrition, sleep,
movement, perhaps.
Exercise. Sorry.
Exercise, yeah.
Okay, and of course optimism. So those to me is what's going to be very important in making sure that your garden is constantly flourishing, and those weeds that are coming up will be like a little alarm systems that are reminding you to tend to your garden, that you need to tend to your garden. And so that's the kind of picture I have about mental health. So it has everything in it.
It's beautiful, thank you. So I will remember this with the garden. That's usually how I, when I set myself, when I have plans, I always think of, just nurturing those roots, and eventually, you will grow and, be fruitful. So whatever it turns into, but yeah, so I just love this image of nature as well, because, well, that's what we are, right? Yeah, so Dr. Neela, so what about, what do you recommend we do in order to maintain a body and a mind free of disease? So in terms of lifestyle behaviors, for example, yeah. Do you have any?
So the whole purpose of Ayurveda is to guide us about everything and every day what we are living towards a healthy and long life. So to make it simple to understand here, I just know a verse from in Ayurveda. The whole knowledge is composed, and it is in the texts of Ayurveda, and these texts contain small verses, and there's one verse which is answering the whole question, which says, Nityam Hitav Ahar Vihas. I'm not going to say the whole verse here, but it means Nityam, every day. So we have to do things every day. And what we do every day matters to our health the most. Then one day we go out, we take a vacation, or we take a therapy. So like for our physical fitness, we are trying to do workout day and night. We go to our gyms and fitnesses, and we go to yoga. In the same way, every day, you should work on the mental fitness. And this is the key to have been living a healthy life in today's challenging world. Now, there are many ways we can do things about that. Every person is a different individual, and that's why Ayurveda addresses every person and his problem in a very customized, in a very individualized way. But here, as we are talking about in general, what things we have to do. So what this verse is saying is a simple thing like the one who does every day eating well, that means eating in balance, eating healthy things, doing the activities for your health, like doing the everyday routine, which goes with your balance, with your constitution, and with your mind. The one who doesn't give too much importance to the wishes of the senses. Now, this is a big topic again, but we are not going to go in detail here. The one who does charity, the one who is truthful, the one who can forgive easily, and the one who keeps good company. All of these plus the one who has the capability to find out or to identify good and bad for himself according to the health. This person is the person who can stay without disease. So now this is a one verse which explains a lot of things, and you will see that the mental attitudes like charity, good conduct, truthfulness, awareness of the mind, these are very important for ourselves, for every person to like Elizabeth said, there are some people who would just face the challenges just like that. And maybe that's their awareness. And there are some people who will be bogged down with the everyday problems. It is because how they have worked on their mind, how much time, how much effort they are putting to bring their mind to a good level of health. Now, mental health and physical health together is health. A person totally healthy in all its analyses are good, but it's constantly miserable, is no more healthy. And we know this definition, everybody knows this definition. So we have to see that we work on the minds also at the same time. Some easy things we should do is mind our mind, be aware of your mind, don't give away to just your mental temptations sometimes, but we have to have a good routine, we have to have a good balanced food, and we have to be doing some creative activities, some positive work, which brings satisfaction, which brings contentment to us, and this will bring your mental status to a very strong one. So these are some things which I could explain in the little time we have here, but I hope it answers your question.
It does. It's really beautiful. Okay, thank you. So do everything every day, do something every day, as little as it can be, but something that also brings joy, contentment, and something that promotes health as well. Okay, I like it. Thank you very much. Now, Laura, so you help women manage their weight with an Ayurvedic lifestyle. Wow. So this is really interesting to me, and I hope that there will be a time where we can explore this further. But just for now, so during your work, do you also address the psychosomatic circumstances leading to weight gain or loss? And if so, how do you go about it?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that question. So first of all, hello everyone, and thank you for having me here, Shubhra. And I've been really enjoying listening to the other panelists. So really what I'm going to say is reiterating what everyone has said through my own words, my own experience. And yes, I actually chose to focus on weight gain because we have a epidemic of obesity and overweight in the Western world, but mainly because what I have seen is that most of the approaches are very, very superficial. And Ayurveda has this breadth of knowledge and wisdom and this understanding that really weight gain is just like any other symptom. And what it is symptomatic of truly is our disconnection with our true nature and what we call a distressed mind, hence, mental health. I specifically use this expression of a distressed mind. And what I have observed then is within my practice, what I do is I actually address as much the distressed mind that I do anything else, because any other symptoms is a consequence of that distressed mind, right? Ayurvedic medicine says that the root cause of our diseases, of our imbalance, is the disconnection from our true self, our inner self. And so what I have observed is that there are about 3 ways that really the mind can become distressed when I work with women around weight gain and obesity. And these are some of the things that my esteemed colleagues or other panelists have been expressing such beautifully, which is the first thing that I can think about is the trauma, the life circumstances or karmic circumstances. And for example, it can be physical abuse. Many times it is sexual abuse. It can also be verbal abuse. We live in a world that is so brainwashed with how a woman's body should look like, that I have women in their 40s and 50s having such a issue with their body image and not being comfortable in their body as it is, and beating themselves up for losing control, so to speak, over their body. So we want to address that. I do address that very deeply, and I call this trauma. I call this verbal trauma and societal trauma. And the second kind of aspects when I speak of the distressed mind is an expression that I've heard often, which is cognitive dissonance, is the arriving at a point in one's life, in a woman's life, where she feels that she is not fully expressing her innermost desires, where she is out of alignment with who she envisions herself deeply. And then the third kind of distressed mind, as many of the panelists have mentioned, is this lifestyle we live in the Western world. This lifestyle that is, again, so disconnected with our own inner rhythms, inner biological, mental, emotional, spiritual rhythms. And so as a result, we develop lifestyle behaviors that are in the long run creating a great deal of imbalance, symptom, and disease ultimately. And so what happens, as I explain it to the women who come to me, because they are looking for another way to approach their weight loss, another way to connect with their body, reconnect with their body, having a healthier relationship with their body and with foods, what happens as a result of the distressed mind is that we end up with digestive issues, like it was mentioned. We end up with hormonal imbalances, and then if we don't address this, and not just the digestive issues, the distressed mind, then we end up with very serious both mental and physical diseases. So really how I approach it is by explaining that there's nothing wrong with them, and that the answer is, again, within themselves, not outside, not the next diet, not the next fad. No, it's really going within and repairing this relationship with themselves through some of the practices that have been mentioned here. I do recommend yoga therapy. I do recommend specifically yoga psychology, because that's where I come from, with the understanding of the different aspects of what we call in English the mind. And the mind has many different aspects to it, and understanding what comes into play and what we need to bring more of, more of that intuitive mind, more of that higher knowledge mind. And through meditative techniques, yogic meditative techniques, specifically breathing techniques, as that has been mentioned, as well as specific asanas, yoga postures that allow for this, as well as Dr. Neela mentioned as well, lifestyle, Ayurvedic lifestyle, dinacharya, daily Ayurvedic lifestyle, the importance of consistency. And in my experience, consistency only happens if we deal at the same time with the cause, the distressed mind. Otherwise, I like to often say that the reason why we oftentimes fail at the changes that we want to make is because we underestimate our attachment to our behaviors. We underestimate the strength of our resistance to change. So we need to address this straight from the beginning, along with everything else. I hope that answers that question, your question.
It does. Thank you, Laure. And you also mentioned that the attachment to our behaviors, and it's made me also think about, even the generational trauma, that many are facing, because it's as if we don't even realize that it is trauma. We are just born into it, and it causes, a plethora of issues, over the years. And, it's so difficult to just debunk everything. Wow. I find it very, very tricky. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for your wonderful answer. So, okay, we spoke about body, a little bit of the mind. So let's go back. Laura, do you have any tips on how we can improve our mental health? So now specifically in yoga therapy, how do you work with this?
I love that question. So first off, as I was saying, just because I work with the individual, a mental health issue is going to be presented in a different way in every person. We are so special and unique, each of us. I don't work with mental health conditions. I don't work with health problems. I work with the person. So the way how we can improve mental health through yoga therapy, we have already touched into that throughout the whole event. But I would say, of course, in order to work with the mind, we need to work with the body as well. We cannot separate them. So we work through relaxation techniques, we work through asanas, which is, and one of the first things I wanted to say as well is yoga is about relationship, is about connection. So we're talking about a lot about how disconnected we live in this world. We're disconnected not only from ourselves, but we're disconnected from others. We're disconnected from the earth. We're disconnected from everything. So it seems that we're walking through life as robots, like going in autopilot all the time. And, that's why we're not able to deal with stress, because we're not full within us. The different layers have been separated more and more. So in yoga, of course, you cannot take the person from 0 to 100. You cannot say yoga is about reconnecting with your true self and with your soul. If someone is so into their mind, into their thoughts, into the emotional layer, it's going to be very hard to understand this. So the way how we help the person to understand that, it's very beneficial to go deeper and deeper and deeper through the layers until you reach your soul, until you reach your deep self. So we work through the relaxation techniques, we work with guided imagery, we work with meditation as well, once the person is ready, because not everyone, especially if there is trauma or anxiety and the mind is very agitated, is very hard for the person to sit down and just meditate. So we do asanas, physical postures. We move the body along with the breath, because this is when true transformation can happen, is when we connect the body with the breath and we move through it. This is how we allow, like, let's say, for example, when we think about anxiety, is not only in the mind, we feel the anxiety in the body. So one way how we can work with it is moving through all the tension. Most of the time, anxiety manifests itself as body tension. So first, we tackle that tension. We move with the breath. We send the breath into those parts that maybe have been neglected for such a long time. There is a lot of stress and chronic stress that gets accumulated in the abdomen, in the digestive tissues, and that's why Ayurveda is so important, working with the diet, because the diet and how you absorb nutrients and how you digest life in general, the emotions, it directly impacts your mental health. So as I was saying, how we help the mind is working through the body, and we help the body to calm first. So once the body is we have moved the body, we have reconnected with the breath. Once the body is in that state and the nervous system is in a more regulated state, that's when we can access not only the mind, but we can also access that deeper part in ourselves, that parts that is what we call the soul. And this is when yoga happens, when we connect the body, the breath, and the soul together. And once we have have an experience about how can I reconnect with my soul, with who I am, then this is manifested in how we treat others, how our relationships are with others, with the world, with the planet, with food, with everything. But first, we need to start with ourselves. So I hope that this recap answers the question. I would say, please first start with yourself, start working with the body, with your breath, get into that more regulated and calm state where you can access deeper layers within you. And then everything is going to be impacted as of there. Once you start working with yourself, then your relationships are starting to, you're going to start to nurture your relationships a little bit more. You're going to start to respect the planet a little bit more. You're going to start to address interactions in a more present and in a more heartful way. So I'm not sure if this has answered your question, Claudia.
Yeah, it has, and beautifully so. And so I was just thinking about Laure as you were speaking. Laure, do you have anything to add to this? Yeah, I think perhaps this is something that you can connect with, or in your opinion, how can physical activity support our mental health? You're on mute, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely totally agree with everything that Laura said, for sure. And she said it in such a beautiful way, and in such a hopeful way. So I really appreciate that. And again, reiterating on what everybody has said about Ayurveda and yoga being sister sciences. So of course, there's not Ayurveda without yoga, and there's no yoga without Ayurveda. One of the things that has been said over and over again is really understanding that everyone is unique. And so in terms of physical activity, in the Western world, we tend to think that, okay, I need to work out, either run or walk or do Pilates or do yoga asanas, without understanding, okay, so but what works for me in this specific moment, having these specific symptoms. So for example, many times when we address weight gain, because this is my specific topic, I look at all the time the root cause. And even though in Ayurveda we say that weight gain is more of a kapha type of symptom, what I understood is that it can be vatagenic or pitagenic, meaning it can, the root cause may be different. So someone who has gained weight but is a very anxious person, running is not the physical activity for this person. And understanding and being able to explain why, because there's too much movement already. There's too much movement in the mind. And so we don't want to perpetuate that movement with too much movement in the body. So it's really approaching physical activity from a more personal and deeply knowledgeable perspective to understand what is right for me in that moment, so that both not only my body feels good, but also my mind and my inner spirit feels good and free. So that's what really I would like to add about physical activity and the difference in terms of how we approach it from an Ayurveda and yoga perspective, and how we approach it from a Western perspective, let's say.
Wow, thank you so much, Laure. Yeah, there is so much depth to it, and so much, it's very refined, you know, so the sciences of, you know, yoga and Ayurveda, it's very beautiful, and it just addresses the person. And yeah, so I also liked how you said, you know, there's no Ayurveda without yoga, and there's no yoga without Ayurveda. And yeah, so I really, really like it. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. Now I will check if we have any questions from the audience. I actually saw that Bijoya and Megan had, you know, about the same, you know, a similar question. So I'll just read both questions, and then anyone who would jump in, you know, feel free to do that. I'm speaking, you know, to our panelists. So Bijoya says, I have a simple question to our panelists. What is the one simplest activity one should do to start connecting with the mind on a daily basis? So there's that. And Megan asks, if there was one thing that each speaker would recommend doing each day, something simple and doable, what might it be? What did they find? What did they find has worked for them and their clients best? An easy way to remember, or an easy to remember takeaway. So anyone taking this one?
I'll answer Megan's.
Okay, so Beth, yeah, you can, and then Dr. Neela, I saw you were about to say something as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a very, very nice question from both of you. What I would suggest, and I do suggest to my clients, is to do a little time of self-observation of what your mind is doing. And you can take just 5 minutes. You can do it every time you look at yourself. And the point here is to observe yourself so that you are alert of your mind. Because our mind is our tool, and we use the mind to do different activities, but the mind is not our master. If we understand this and we know how to drive our mind, it's very important to do that. It's very difficult to do that, but it's very important to do that. And to start this, we just need to first catch the mind. Hello, what are you doing now? And be alert, be conscious, or just self-observation. And that will bring you to a very good connection to your own tool, your mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Neela. So I hear observing, becoming aware of what the mind is doing. Thank you. Beth, did you want to add to it as well?
Well, I was going to say pretty much the same thing, is that, you know, in mindfulness, one of the first things you can do is start to becoming more aware of your thoughts and observing your thoughts, like I said earlier on, and taking a moment to stop and focus on something, even if it's for 1 minute or 2 minutes. And breathing is always the anchor. So breathing, just focusing on your breathing, not changing it, just noticing what it's doing, is a first step to help people move towards better awareness without making them sit for 45 minutes and do a mindfulness sitting. So that would be very close to with what Neela said. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also just saw that Laura kindly dropped a an answer in the chat as well. So she says, one thing you can start doing daily, and you don't even need to sit down or stop whatever you're doing, is bringing your awareness to your own breath. So there is always awareness coming back. Feel the air coming in and out of your body. By practicing and becoming aware of your breath, you will start developing more and more emotional resilience. That's beautiful. Thank you so, so much. Thank you all for that.
And can I add just a very tiny thing to this?
Yes, certainly.
I would say, you know, if for some reason the person feels very agitated and it's really hard for them to even bring in the awareness to the breath, for example, I would invite them to explore and see if they can feel how they are moving. Let's say, for example, if they are walking outside, maybe bring the awareness to your legs. Do they feel strong? Do they feel weak to you? Do they feel, you know, tense, tight? Are you holding any tension anywhere? So sometimes, you know, for some people, just staying aware of the breathing. If the breathing is shallow or is moving fast and is superficial, if there is, you know, a lot of nervousness, the mind is agitated, then the breath is going to be impacted. So if that's very hard for the person, then I encourage you to just, you know, feel your body. Are you holding any tension? If you're sitting down on your desk, you know, does your low back hurt? Do you have tightness in your shoulders? Yeah, just bringing the mindfulness into your body, into tiny things, and then pendulating from maybe one part of your body that feels nice and pleasant, and maybe giving a little bit of attention to those parts that maybe not feel as comfortable or, you know, as opened, right? And then just slowly, you know, navigating through parts of your body that feel stronger and those part of your body that feel tighter, then you will start developing that emotional resilience, and that will translate into improving your mental health.
Wow, that's very nice. Thank you.
Superb,
Very
yeah.
explicit.
Yeah, I can't stop.
Right.
Like after listening to all, I was like, yes, when I relate to all the answers, and thanking everybody. Yes, seconding with the thought of chanting. Of course, it's a big chapter, as Dr. Neela said. What we can do is, which really works for me at least, and it works for so many people. Chanting is another, like you're observing breath. A lot of people might think what it is. How do I observe my breath? At the moment, you know, somebody is at your door, you have some other thought, you have so many other responsibilities, automatically your breath becomes disbalanced again. But if you can consciously just chant, and I would rather say that you can speeden up chanting. Two things cannot go simultaneously. If you're chanting, another thought cannot come. If it's still coming, speed up the chanting. Forget about the meaning of it. I mean, you might say what I'm saying doesn't mean anything. Like, we do not understand the computer language, but we still use them. So you believe on that. Like you may not be knowing the meaning of my name, but when you call me, I will respond to it. So mantra does respond to your body. Your body does respond to the mantras. Even if you do not know the meaning, do it. But the general mantra, don't get into very complicated mantra. Like Ayurveda is it's very, not for everything. There is nothing fixed for everybody. Similarly, mantra is again not fixed for everybody. That also is very deep science. So choose the universal mantras, which is suitable for everybody. Gayatri mantra, or kind of which is convenient for you, which your heart goes, like you want to say this, be it anything. So start with that. It really helps. Even if you're walking, talking, do it within your mind. It really helps. Yes. Thank you so much. I intruded in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right. Yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah, I do that too as well.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. I see that Laure raised her hand. Laure, would you like to take the stage?
Yeah, I just want to add something to all the beautiful things that everyone shared. And I just add this from my own struggle with mental health. You know, as I was younger, and it's do something that makes you laugh every day. As Shura mentioned, we cannot have two thoughts at the same time. So when we direct our thinking process, and you probably all experienced this, you may have hurt your foot or knocked your toes somewhere, and then you get distracted with something else and you forget that your foot hurts. In the same way, I have found for myself that when I feel the emotion coming up, and I'm not in the place where I can easily manage that emotion, doing something or watching something that really makes me laugh, a good laugh, has always really shifted the mood for me very quickly. So I just wanted to add this.
Thank you, Laure. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. It's very beautiful, and it relaxes very quickly. So I notice for myself, it's the muscle, it's the head. I feel that my head is starting to clear. Beautiful. From all of you, precious advice. Thank you so much, Laure. This is one of my most favorites. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. So are there any more questions from the audience? So if not, I would perhaps ask our guests if they have any final advice that they can share with us before we call this a night. Anyone? Laura?
Sure. Yeah. I was thinking that we live in a very hard and tough world right now. There is a lot of turmoil going on, not just outside, but also inside. So I would say life is not always easy to navigate. We all go through, we all struggle, we all go through tough moments. So I would say maybe bringing more softness into your life. That might mean different things to each of us. That might mean for someone, doing something nice for someone else, or just smiling to someone, just giving a compliment to someone. But yes, bringing more gentleness. We need to start with ourselves. It's not selfish when we start with ourselves, because the world needs it. If there is chaos outside, that means that there is chaos inside of us. We cannot separate our individual body, mind, soul system with the world. It's all the same. We're all the same. So I would say start being gentle with yourself. Do the work when you can, and then when you cannot, don't beat yourself up. Be gentle with yourself, and I'm sure this is going to start to translate in, as I said, in your relationships with everyone, in your interactions, in how we treat the world, the planet, how we treat other beings, animals, everything, because we're all connected. So I would say, just a tiny suggestion, bringing more softness in general to our lives.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, more softness, more gentleness, and starting with ourselves. The change happens here first, and then it can just go outward. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Let me see what else is in the chat. Thank you. Megan had left a message. Thank you, Megan. Beautiful. Anyone else, perhaps? Well, in that case, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. Thank you to our guests for this insightful conversation and the precious advice you shared with us. This is truly a real blessing. And thank you to ASHAexperience for hosting this event and for having me as your moderator today. I wish you all the best, and hopefully see you at the next event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of our panelists, our guests, all the members who participated in that. And we are looking forward to many more enlightening and life-changing events in future.